and a mix of ministerial and lay-led. Unitarians have few rituals, and Sunday service formats are certainly not amongst them. We come together in beloved community to grow in wisdom, welcome and deepen relationships, and act for a just and sustainable world. If there are any new or first time in a long time attendees amongst us this morning, you're welcome to rise, introduce yourself briefly, and indicate where you are visiting from, Calgary or otherwise. Do we have any new folks amongst us this morning? Please. Welcome. Hooray. I was informed directly and indirectly by First Nations elders that it's okay and even encouraged to vary our usual land acknowledgement statement to include supplemental educational messages. This morning, I'll provide brief information about Truth and Reconciliation updates and proportionally shorten our land acknowledgement and my personal statements to compensate. We start, as always, by acknowledging the land we are on is the traditional Treaty 7 territory, the people of Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Piikani, Kainai First Nations, as well as Tsuut'ina First Nation, Cree, and the Stoney Nakoda, comprised of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The Blackfoot word for what is now known as the city of Calgary, Mohkinstsis, is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We are committed to reconciliation, which starts with taking this and every opportunity to acknowledge and honor and privilege to live, work, and play within these First Nations territories. We of the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta signed September 22nd, fill in the blank, 1877, right? Acknowledge that treaties were entered into as a collaboration between settlers and Indigenous peoples, making us all treaty people. In offering this land acknowledgement, we honor those that have long been her stewards and accept her shared responsibility for being good caretakers. Calgary Unitarians would like to invite you to advocate what you love and to preserve our environment for future generations to enjoy while educating yourselves and others on Indigenous history and perspectives. Offering a land acknowledgement is but one step on our shared truth and reconciliation journey. To that end, it's helpful to keep abreast of where Canadians are at in fulfilling the 94 Truth and Reconciliation action statements formally adopted in June of 2015. Two notable websites worth reviewing periodically are the following: indigenouswatchdog.org and, perhaps easier to recall, Beyond 94 on our CBC website, subtitled "Where is Canada at with Reconciliation?" The latter categorizes all 94 statements into 6 subject headings and further describes each as either not started, 19 actions, in progress, projects proposed, 31 of those, in progress, projects underway, another 31, and projects completed, 13. Hooray! So why am I here? Did I hear someone ask that question? Funny you should ask. This congregation is special to me because here I can explore and create my own spiritual path without a finite doctrine, supported by others, and together with people whose values I share, my life becomes more meaningful. I joined Calgary Unitarians approximately 20 years ago when my deceased spouse, Randy Lind, suggested it would be a place where we could jointly develop our spirituality through her Christian United faith and my Jewish roots. Randy was involved with this community 12 years before we knew each other through her Freeman family at the time. Randy would have been pleased to learn that not only did her Unitarian influence affect me, but has also rubbed off on my sister and my brother-in-law, currently living in Bluffton, South Carolina, where they are actively engaged in the UUs of the Low Country congregation, and where Liz and I were welcomed as guests last week. Please join us after the service for coffee time, both live in Wickenden Hall, 2 sets of doors to the north, and virtually, where we meet in small breakout rooms and have opportunities to socialize. The Zoom link will be shared at the end of the service. Should others share an interest in seeking spiritual enlightenment through social coffee setup, takedown and cleanup, be sure to speak with Liz and me later. Liz, wave your hand, please. Clear directions for making coffee are on the coffee machine.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, we have a jam-packed service for you this morning, and so don't be surprised if we end about 5 minutes late or so, as we just have so much to share and so much to talk about today, including singing a new hymn and having an anthem and hearing from Jeff, ad-libbing, all that good stuff. That was good stuff, Jeff. And we have a brief announcement from Alex. Where'd you go, Alex? Here he is. He's going to be brief.
Promise to be brief too. As the representative on the National Nominations Committee, we are looking for a trustee for Western Canada to replace Joanne Green from Regina. So anybody here who has an interest in serving as a trustee on the national board, please speak to me. Thank you.
National what now? What's it called?
The CUC.
Not everyone knows.
National Board.
Right. It's the Canadian Unitarian
Council.
Council. That's our national organization.
Right.
We use our letters all the time. We forget to use our words.
That's
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Well, good morning. I'm the Reverend Shelley Thompson. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the interim minister here for a little bit longer until June. So I'm enjoying every minute of it. Delighted to be here. Jane's here. Jane's here. The choir's here. You're all here. And we want to say hello to everybody on Zoom and welcome one another today. If you want to rise, embody your spirit, and greet your neighbors and wave at Zoom. Hi, everybody. We love you. Hi, Jane. Love you. Thank you. What? Doug said to me this morning, he says, we need to boogie more like we did last week. Sitting on you five. Sitting on you five. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, we're going to have a great coffee hour today, I can tell. It's going to be a good coffee hour. Thanks, everybody. What a joy to be in such a loving, welcoming community. I want to make one more announcement on behalf of our beloved Liz, who is running our service auction, and no one has bid on anything yet. There's on the website, there's a place where you can sign up for dinners. Jane Ebern's doing her amazing dinners. There's a sign up on the bulletin board as well. You got to get in on this. It's good stuff. So do please sign up for that service auction. And if you're not sure what we're talking about, Liz, again, fabulous Liz, we love you, Liz. She knows all about it and she will help you. We definitely want to make the best of that wonderful opportunity to have a service auction again. Yay. Thank you, Liz. All right. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from one of my dear friends, colleagues, and professors, Reverend Leslie Takahashi, who serves our Mount Diablo congregation in California. These are words from our wonderful meditation manual, The Voices from the Margins. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this, the rest false. You're whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues. We're taught to think in either or, to believe the teachings of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond single will. I'm broken or I am powerful. Life embraces many truths, speaks of both and. We're taught to see in absolutes, good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Let us see the fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than the monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course, that the margins hold the center. Let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing a rousing rendition of Come and Go With Me.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Go with me to that land.
All right. That was some wonderful singing from everyone. And I just want to do a shout out to Todd, our administrator. He does our slides. So when I saw the Lego man up there, I was like, all right, Todd. He has a lot of creativity every week. I just love it. I'm DRE Sheila McMaster. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at the Calgary Unitarians, and my pronouns are she and her. And today we're talking about othering and belonging. And I want to read a children's board book. It's actually a baby book called The Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram X. Kendi. Yes. Whew. And the following thoughts about the book were written by #DisruptText. It's a group of 4 women of color educators, Trisha Ibarvia, Lorena Germain, Kim Parker, and Julia E. Torres. And so they talk about, he also has a baby book and he has an adult book. So in his adult book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Dr. Kendi argues that we're either racist or anti-racist, that there's no in between. Because research has shown that babies as young as 6 months old show racial preferences. And learning to be anti-racist is work that even our youngest of children can and must do. And anti-racism goes beyond universal platitudes like be kind, because being kind does not mean we avoid seeing race, but that we celebrate racial differences. And furthermore, although we might teach our children that anyone can do anything, we must also teach them that racist barriers exist that stop us all from being truly free, and that we have the power to change this. And so we believe that Anti-Racist Baby gives caregivers, children together that can begin the process of understanding racial identity. And the only way to remove stigma and shame around talking about race is to normalize these conversations. And so if you want to be successful, however, you have to do the work yourself first. So that's true. I got to do the work. We all got to do the work. But it is in our power to raise the anti-racist children our world needs. And you can do this. We can do this. So in this week's Children and Youth newsletter, I've posted 5 of the questions that they created around this book for parents and caregivers to delve deeper into this conversation. So if you're an adult and you're like, ooh, Sheila has a really good newsletter. Yes, I do. Then just send me an email and I'll sign you up. You might think it's just for children and youth. No, it is awesome for people of all ages. Every week I post some good things that you can be doing at home. So I'll sign you up. And this is good. I found out just statistically last week, I was talking to someone who's a consultant for charity groups. And I said, well, I have this newsletter and I got 50% opens. Only 50% of people are opening it. That must be terrible. And he says, no, for emails, it's 0.3%. I am kicking butt here. This is an amazing newsletter. So sign up. I'm hoping you'll be the 1 in 50% that open it. All right. So also today with the Children and Youth class, we're making diversity flowers. So what we're doing is we're each getting our own petal and we're going to write what makes us different, what makes us special. And then we're going to put them all together to make a diversity flower. And then we're also playing a game called Stepping Together. So it's when you go into a line and I'll ask a question like, what do you prefer? Cats or dogs? Do you prefer cats? Obviously, that is the right answer. But if you do prefer dogs, that's okay. We embrace diversity. So then as people kind of step forward or backwards, we kind of get to see how are we different? How are we the same? And that's all part of embracing our diversity today. And so now for our story, the anti-racist baby. All right. By Ibram X. Kendi. So anti-racist baby is bred, not born. Anti-racist baby is raised to make society transform. Yes, I agree. And babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There's no neutrality. Take these 9 steps to make equality a reality. Number 1, open your eyes to all skin colors. Anti-racist baby learns all the colors, not because race is true. If you claim to be colorblind, you deny what's right in front of you. Number 2, use your words to talk about race. No one will see racism if we only stay silent. If we don't name racism, it won't stop being so violent. Number 3, point at policies as the problem, not people. Some people get more where others get less because policies don't always grant equal access. Number 4, shout, there's nothing wrong with people. Even though all races are not treated the same, we are all human. Anti-racist baby can proclaim. Number 5, celebrate all our differences. Anti-racist baby doesn't see certain groups as better or worse. Anti-racist baby loves a world that's truly diverse. And number 6, knock down the stack of cultural blocks. An anti-racist baby appreciates how groups speak and dance and create as they choose. Anti-racist baby welcomes all groups voicing their unique views. And number 7, confess when being racist. Nothing disrupts racism more than we confess the racist ideas that we sometimes express. Number 8, grow to be an anti-racist. Anti-racist baby is always learning and changing and growing. An anti-racist baby stays curious about all people and isn't all-knowing. And number 9, believe we shall overcome racism. Anti-racist baby is filled with the power to transcend, my friend, and doesn't judge a book by its cover, but reads until the end. And as Audre Lorde says, tomorrow belongs to those of us who conceive of it as belonging to everyone, who lent the best of ourselves to it and with joy. And now please join me as we sing the children's flame downstairs.
Isn't it joyful to have little people playing in the sanctuary? I love it. Now's the time for our candles of care and concern. This is a community that loves one another deeply and cares deeply for the challenges, the troubles, the joys, the celebrations, all of the ups and downs of our lives. We believe they're too important not to share with one another. We light a candle for all the good news, the joys. My brother is becoming a grandfather for the first time tomorrow. He's very excited. Lots of joy in this world. Joyful to be here with all of you. We light a candle for everything that's difficult, challenging, and downright painful and awful in this world. We know so many of us are struggling with health issues, with ongoing medical concerns, and with reasons why life is just a little harder to get through these days. We honor all of those things and hold you all in love. And we light a global candle because we know this is true for all people everywhere. And we care deeply about our interconnected web of all our relations. And now is a time when you may come forward and light a candle or add a pebble to our water as we get to hear James sing, "I'm sending you light," my favorite. February is Black History Month here in Canada and in the United States. And of course, we want to pay attention to working on becoming more and more anti-racist every day of the year. But certainly in February, it's a time to remind ourselves not to miss out on all of the amazing opportunities there are to go out into the world and engage with people across our differences. And here in Calgary, we're so blessed to have so many opportunities to go out there and support Black artists, poets, musicians, thought leaders, activists, all sorts of people offering amazing presentations and events throughout Calgary. Anything you could wish for, it's being offered. So we can go and enjoy that and learn and listen and work on becoming more anti-racist in the process. And so one such event, we have our beloved Kathy Welburn among us, who is a poet. And so she knows lots of other poets. And one such poet is Maria Crooks, who is currently the leader of the Storytelling Cafe. This is a part of Alberta Storytelling, professional storyteller. She's been hosting and arranging this for us for years now. And she's also a playwright. She's written a play that's going to have a staged reading at the Arts Commons on the 24th. So we invited Maria. We wanted her to come in person, but she's busy working on her play today. So she's made a video for us. She wants to extend this personal invitation to us to join in Storytelling Cafe and experience what's wonderful and amazing about that. On the back of the flyer and on the website, there's descriptions of the fabulous presenters and what they're going to be sharing about. It's good stuff. This is online, and we also have it in the lobby out there. We can make you a copy if you like. And she's going to invite us to that stage reading of her play. So here is Maria Crooks.
Good morning. My name is Maria, and I'm very pleased to be speaking to you this morning. Cassie Welburn has asked me to take a few minutes to tell you about a Story Cafe concert that I will. Good morning. My name is Maria, and I'm very pleased to be speaking to you this morning. Cassie Welburn has asked me to take a few minutes to tell you about a Story Cafe concert that I will be hosting online on Wednesday, February 22nd, starting at 6:30 to commemorate and celebrate Black History Month. Black History Month began in the United States in 1926 to celebrate the achievements and events of African Americans. The month of February was chosen because it is the birth month of both President Abraham Lincoln and the abolitionist Frederick Douglass. In 1995, Canada designated February as Black History Month here. I want to take a few minutes to tell you about myself. I was born in Cuba and lived there and was raised there, and as well as in Jamaica. But I have lived in Calgary for 40 years. When I retired, I began taking playwriting courses, and several of my plays have been produced here in Calgary. My most recent play, Selma, I co-wrote with a playwright by the name of Caroline Russell King, and that play is called Selma. And I am very pleased to let you know that it has been accepted by Theatre Calgary for a public reading. So it's not a full production, it's a public reading, and that will be taking place on February the 24th, Friday, February the 24th, at Arts Commons at Theatre Calgary. I don't know yet what space has been designated for the reading, but if you are interested, and if you go to Arts Commons to Theatre Calgary at 7 p.m., I am sure that there will be someone there who will be able to direct you to where the reading is taking place. I should explain that I should have been with you this morning in person, but because this morning at 10 o'clock, I am meeting with the director and the actors for the reading of my play, that's the reason why I'm not there in person. I should tell you perhaps a little bit about the play. It's called Selma, and it is the story of the life of a very extraordinary woman, a sculptor, who was a member of the Harlem Renaissance, which was a flourishing of African American culture in the 20s and 30s. She is also the sculptor who designed the image of President Roosevelt on the American dime. Unfortunately, her work was never recognized. She was never recognized as being the designer of that image. Cassie and I are both members of Storytelling Alberta. Storytelling Alberta is an organization that has been around since 1982, and the organization promotes the art of oral storytelling. And we do so with a number of different activities, including story cafes. Since 2020, I have been the host for the February cafes to commemorate Black History Month. And since then, TD Bank Group has been sponsoring the event, and we are very, very grateful to them for their generous support. The theme of the Story Cafe is going to be the Black Experience, Tales of Triumph, and there will be 3 storytellers and a poet.
You can read all about the storytellers and the poet, including Wakefield Brewster. Some of you may remember Wakefield. He's a Calgary poet laureate, the first Black Calgary poet laureate. He's a friend of ours. He's been to visit us here. It's another opportunity to hear Wakefield in action too. So we encourage you all to attend this. It looks like a really, really special event. And we thank Maria and Kathy for bringing this to us. But when we venture forth and work on widening our circles, we can have wonderful experiences like Storytelling Cafe, and we can also encounter our own discomfort and challenges in recognizing that our majority white culture is actually quite harmful to an awful lot of people. And as Sheila reminded us this morning, it's important to do both. It's important to be honest and unafraid to know the truth, to talk about the truth, and to change it for something better. We dream of a Unitarian Universalism that is radically inclusive and welcoming of all people. Our accountability for working on this and making this dream a reality is affirmed in our 8th principle. And remember, our principles are actually a covenant. It's a covenant among us as Unitarian Universalists. We want to be in right relationship with one another, first and foremost. Today, we are going to hear about some uncomfortable truths, some ways in which we routinely break covenant with some of our own beloveds. Many UUs with racialized or other marginalized identities are frequently disappointed and harmed by the lack of inclusion and acceptance that they experience in their own UU congregations that do reflect the majority white culture. Again, it's not our principles or our values or our wonderful hearts that are the problem. It's this white culture that we swim in. Reverend Mitra Ranima puts it this way: often a person of color is one of the most visible and invisible people in a culturally white faith community. A person may be highly visible by the way they look, or by name, language, accent, or tone, or simply because of the energy created by a felt difference in culture. Yet a person of color's personhood, unique beauty, struggles, spirit, identity, and experiences are invisible to the white community, often because of assumptions, projections, bias, microaggression, and discrimination. Those words from Reverend Mitra come from the introduction to the book, Centering, Navigating Race, Authenticity, and Power in Ministry, published in 2017. I encourage you to spend some time with this book. It's available in Kindle, or you can purchase it online from the UUA bookstore. The book contains 9 personal stories and a response to each one, all written for and by Unitarian Universalist religious professionals of color, ministers and religious educators, all sharing very honestly about their experiences serving in culturally white churches. And note, at the time of that writing in 2017, the authors chose to consistently use the term people of color throughout, whereas today, we might be more likely to say BIPOC or IPOC, and we still know that none of these words are perfect. The resource guide that companions the book reminds us these are sacred stories, not often shared with colleagues and parishioners. Reverend Mitra adds, these stories are living, breathing testimonies of faith. The stories are embodied. So believe them, and allow them to touch your heart and your soul. As we've said, for some of us, it can be difficult to hear and painful to reconcile with our view of ourselves as loving, welcoming people. But you're invited to lean in to any discomfort that you experience and practice deep listening. Centering the voices of those who live on the margins, really practicing that deep listening is one of the ways that we embody our eighth principle and live our values. It's the way we honor and practice our covenant together. With the short time we have today, I want to share with you some excerpts from the first essay in the book entitled Othering and Belonging. It's written by my beloved friend and colleague, Reverend Derek Jackson. Derek spent many years as a parish minister. I met him when he was the dean of students and a professor at Meadville Lombard Unitarian Universalist Seminary in Chicago. That's where I came to know him and to love him. I enjoy his positive, deeply caring presence whenever I get to spend time with him. He's a gifted minister, pastor, teacher, improv artist, performer, and a master knitter. He also performs a Christmas carol in Klingon. He's my people. He has an infectious and unforgettable laugh. Everyone who knows Derek loves Derek. He's a lot like our Jane, one of those people that just people flock to, and not only do they have friends, but they have adoring fans everywhere they go. When we see Derek at our general assemblies, you can see people all over you know where Derek is because it's the people running going, Derek! That's how we greet him. We love him. He currently serves as the Director of Ministries of Lifelong Learning at the UU Ministers Association. The writers of Centering ask the readers or listeners to participate in covenant while engaging with the stories. While participants who are people of color may wish to reflect on ways in which these stories resonate with your own experiences, white listeners are invited to practice centering the experiences of people of color and to receive them as an offering. That means to listen without comparing them to our own experiences or emotions. We enter into this time of reflection with these intentions. May we practice humility in the presence of this sacred story. May we enter into this time with curiosity, open-heartedness, and willingness to live into a new way of engaging. These are Derek's words. In the wake of Ferguson and the Black Lives Matter movement, I have found my Unitarian Universalist identity and my African American identity at odds. These events have brought to light once again my struggle with being in a faith that is sympathetic to my identity as a person of color, but just does not get it. Not long after, in the wake of the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, I attended a vigil hosted by one of our UU congregations. We stood outside holding candles and sang songs of justice. We went back inside and the ministers processed. We listened to prayers and reflections from ministers in the community, UU and otherwise. As I looked out at the sea of mostly white faces, I felt alone and isolated instead of drawn in to the community. It was clear to me that my UU community was looking at this issue from a distance. They were supporting justice for the other. In that moment, they saw me only as a Unitarian Universalist, and they saw police violence as something that happened to other people. Michael Brown did not represent their brother, son, nephew, cousin. They were outraged about the injustice. I was feeling the pain of my people. I saw no space to name that pain in my UU community, at least not with people who would understand. I did not need a sympathetic ear. I needed someone who could understand my pain and could help me find solace in my UU faith. But that was work that I had to do on my own. And it required resources outside of our UU faith, grounded in African-American tradition. And so I wonder, if I cannot find the resources for spiritual development within our own faith, how am I expected to effectively minister as a person of color? I was a universalist before I even knew there was a religious home for my beliefs. And yet I still go back to the spirit of the African Methodist Episcopal Church within which I was raised. I often ache for the music that makes my heart soar, that brings the divine into the room during worship. I miss ministry that is grounded in my Black identity. I miss a message of hope that is grounded in an understanding of struggle. I miss all these things, and yet theologically, I can be nowhere else than where I am. So I make my home here in Unitarian Universalism, as imperfect as it is, and find ways to stay grounded, to stay connected, and to stay whole. Growing up in the AME church, I was presented with images of spirituality grounded in my Black identity. The worship service and religious education both referenced Black history and Black culture. I learned how my cultural struggle and my identity interfaced with the biblical narrative. When I became a Unitarian Universalist, it was clear that my history and culture were not reflected in worship or religious education. I could connect on the level of my humanity, but my identity was rarely represented except on special days, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Black History Month, and Kwanzaa. In those moments, I felt other. I felt that my culture was being put on display, not an inclusive part of the service. The AME Church also informed how I think about music for worship. I like to begin the service with reflective music and end with music that's energetic and engaging. But our hymnal does not support this idea. Most of the hymns are medium to slow and tepid in their musical arrangement, and I'm rarely able to find music that fits the energy I'm trying to engender. Often I work with the musicians to play hymns, not dirges. Music can evoke a deep spiritual strength in me that helps me transcend the issues and concerns in my life. In worship, it can help me connect with the theme for the service in a visceral way. But most UU hymns feel like vehicles for the words, not for an experience of the holy. Until Singing the Journey, our Teal hymnal was published, few hymns popular among UUs could be vehicles for the transcendent. But most of the ones that did came from the African-American tradition. This is indicative of the mental focus of UU worship. Words are primary, but I see many UUs hesitant to engage the heart, the body, and the soul. I've had to make peace with myself about my preaching, as I've had no interest in the intellectual sermon. I want to touch the heart, to nurture the soul. The intellectualism in Unitarian Universalism comes with a culture of stillness. I grew up in a culture of engagement. We had permission to respond to the service, to say amen. Amen. When we were moved by the words or the music, to clap our hands on 2 and 4, to nod our heads whenever the Spirit moved us. We lived that hymn, when the Spirit says do, every time we gathered for worship. I've had to learn to restrain myself in UU churches, which distances me from worship. Sometimes our worship feels more like a lecture to me. I construct my services with UU stillness in mind. Any attempt at a more embodied worship feels experimental and risky, instead of one of the many ways worship happens. Engaging UUs in conversation about these areas where I feel disconnected from the UU culture is hard. I often struggle with how to say something or if it's worth it. I worry about the other person's reaction, and I have to decide if I have the energy to deal with it. Often when I engage with someone about these matters, the conversation quickly turns to them, how they feel, how they're not to blame, and so on. Instead of engaging the issue, I'm engaging their needs. My connection with UU people of color has been essential through DRUM, the diverse, revolutionary, Unitarian, Universalist, multicultural ministries, and finding our way home, a yearly retreat for UUs of color. And individual friends and colleagues, I have found that community to be a stabilizing force in my life and my ministry. Being able to share experiences and not having to explain why they are important or troubling helps normalize what's happening for me. Gospel music still elicits joy within me and gives me a sense of peace and a reminder of hope. Gospel music is the place where I can reconnect with my Christian roots in ways that are healing and life-engendering, even though I no longer connect to the theology. I've written new words to my favorite songs, and I've thought about writing UU gospel music. Jane. Amen. Unitarian Universalism has a gospel message to share. The gospel is the good news. We've got good news. Listening to the music reminds me of the saving power of our faith, Unitarian Universalism. Spiritual practice has been essential for my grounding in Unitarian Universalism and in ministry. I've been drawn to pagan ritual and practices, which provide for me that connection to the spirit that's embodied, heartfelt, and soulful. Walking meditations, labyrinths, and knitting all help me connect to the spiritual through movement. These balance the heady focus of traditional UU worship and provide me what I'm missing on Sunday morning. As a minister, I search for ways to create for others what I have found missing in Unitarian Universalism. I incorporate the voices of people of color in worship throughout the year, not just on special occasions or topics. And as much as I can, engage the body and the heart as well as the mind. I'm conscious of creating spaces for connection and engagement in worship instead of stillness and isolation. We all, people of color, all have to find our resources and supports so that we can minister effectively. At this point, our needs as a people of color are broader than what the faith can fulfill. But I hope that we can live into our stated dreams and be a faith that is open to diversity in both word and deed, and that I am able to bring my full self, my full spiritual worshiping self into our faith. Amen. Thank you, Derek. My beloveds, I invite you to believe Derek and allow his story to touch your heart and your soul. Reflect on how he feels othered by Unitarian Universalist culture and how hard he has to work to stay in relationship with his chosen faith. As we practice Unitarian Universalism together, may we continue to practice humility, curiosity, open-heartedness, and a willingness to live into new ways of engaging. Amen. Ashe, may it be so. And now is the time when we accept our offering. We know that this is a self-sustaining community and that your time, talent, and treasure is what enables us to carry out our mission of transforming the world with our love. Our For Others this month is the Canadian Unitarian Council. We share with our larger faith. And they provide all kinds of wonderful programs, workshops, lectures. Our annual general meeting is coming up in Ottawa this year in May. We love the CUC. We support them. Your gifts are greatly appreciated. They are necessary. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your generosity. And now we have a special treat from our choir while the offering is collected.
In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, choose love. In the midst of sorrowful return, I await the sun again. I choose love. I choose love. Oh. Again, I choose love. I choose love.
That beautiful piece of music was written in response to a mass shooting at a church where 9 members of an African-American prayer group were murdered. Sadly, there are too many examples like that. We choose love. Amen. So now, if you are with us online, we're going to be posting a link to our coffee chat time. We encourage you to connect and share together in that space. And if you're with us here, please proceed on into Wickenden. We have coffee. Someone made our coffee today. Who made coffee today? Of course, Liz made coffee today. Liz makes coffee a lot. Yay. She would love help. She would love help. This is one thing where we're still getting the hang of making coffee and cleaning coffee. So far, we've been lucky. It's happening. You're always welcome to pitch in. It's easy. And so we are really looking forward to that special time together. And we extinguish our chalice again with the words of my beloved Leslie Takahashi. All that we have ever loved, all that we've ever been, stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a deeper joy in this life we share. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we're going to sing our new hymn, Busca el Amor.
Seek out the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who care. Seek out the love in you. It only grows whenever it is shared. Seek out the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who care. Seek out the love in you. It only grows whenever it is shared. Seek out the love in you, in you. Registra tu camaleón cuando cambia el color del corazón y te estalla la flor, un pétalo del sol, el amor. Lo que el otro bien. Seek out the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who can. Seek out the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who can. Seek out the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who can. Seek out the love in you. It only grows whenever it is shared. Seek out the love in you. In you.